Good morning, all. This is Jason Coons of the Christian Apologetics, boldly proclaiming Jesus. I hope you all had a good weekend around these parts. We got quite a bit of snow, 12 to 14 inches, I'd say. But the thing about snow, when it snows, when it's like 1 degree out, it's very light, so easy shoveling, and I'll take that anytime. But today I just was thinking on what I would talk about in this video today. And I was reminded of a video I saw a while ago. I think it's from a decently old movie. But the topic is, have you ever kind of found yourself looking around and you see that you yourself walk a Christian walk. You try to do everything you're supposed to. You go to church. You try to strive to be like Jesus. And I think at times, though, we allow our flesh to look around at others and wonder why sometimes they're blessed when they may not live the same life you do. And this is something that we should avoid, but it is something that is very human of us, right? Sometimes. I think during these times we should pray about it and understand that really life isn't always fair, and that I think that is a biblical concept. In some ways, we need to understand that it rains on both the good and the bad. But there is another thought process that I want to bring to your attention, because we can look around and we can see somebody who has made some very evil decisions in their life, who whatever the case may be. I know in our own situation, when we lost our son, it could be easy to look around, not at anybody we knew, because I believe we knew fairly good parents and people who definitely, lived a good life and put their kids first. But, in generic terms, we looked around and said, why does someone who struggles with, drug addiction, or someone who struggles with neglect and abuse, because we see it all around. I'm not trying to down these people, but how come it's so easy for them to have a baby, yet here we are, would be very good and loving parents, and we don't have a kid, we don't have a baby, we lost ours? How is that fair? And that's something we ask God. I can be very perfectly honest with you, because this is something this channel and I want to be is very authentic with you and very real. I don't want to put on these facades that make me look better. I want you to understand that I still have very real thoughts and very real emotions, and at times we need to talk about these, because these are very real thoughts that we have. We look around and say, how can that person have a baby when they'll just treat the baby so poorly? Yet we would give him a good home and we lost ours. Why, God? Why? And the answer is not an easy one. The answer is that due to the world's fallen nature, there has to be a randomness to things that happen. There has to be, a storm. It doesn't choose who it rains on. It doesn't say, are you good? Or have you lived your life good? Or are you bad? It rains on everyone, right? The rich, the poor, the godly, the sinful. It rains on everyone. Everyone here in Maine got dumped with a foot of snow or more. And all across the country, really, with this one. It doesn't choose, and that's the same way with the randomness of life and free will. It's hard for us to understand. And the story that I want to bring to your attention is a video I saw of an old movie. I can't even remember which one, but the scene was with this grandson who was visiting his elderly grandmother in the nursing home, and she had some sort of dementia. And you could see very much that she was trapped within the fog of dementia and memory loss and things like that. And if you've been around anybody like that, you know what I'm talking about. So it's kind of a dark room, and he's behind her, and she's just kind of staring off into space, and he thinks he's kind of having a monologue with himself, talking to her. And he's like, you've lived a good life. You've followed God. You've done everything you should. You probably went to church every Sunday. You gave to the poor. You helped people. You were charitable. You followed Jesus. You did everything you were supposed to. And he's saying, I did not. I stepped over people. I hurt people. I cheated people. I did everything for my own success. And look at me. I'm at the top of the world. He looked to be in a suit, so he's probably some sort of CEO or something. He was successful by this world's standards. And I've reached the pinnacle of my success, and you are sitting here with dementia. How is your God good? He asked. How is that something that I should strive for? And she just kind of snapped to and says, sometimes people are put into a prison with no doors, a prison of success, so they don't realize their need for Jesus. And he just sat there kind of stunned. And it's so true. Sometimes when we look around and we see what we would consider evil people having success, sometimes that's allowed I believe the devil allows them to have these success. And I believe these are very real things. It's not something that we kind of see dramatized in movies. Oh, I made a deal with the devil. And I'm not sure it's an exact deal, handshake or anything like that, but I believe the devil does allow people to have success so they don't realize the hole in their hearts. They cover this with success and all the things that this world has to offer, all the pleasures, he doesn't let them realize that they're empty. So that's sometimes what we need to realize. And it also points to another fact, is that our blessings are not always tied to this life. I've known some very Christian people that go through many struggles. They seem to struggle their whole lives. I can think of one person in a hospital right now who has had stroke after stroke. And he's a very godly man. And we can look at that and say, why God? But sometimes how we handle these things and how we undergo these tribulations and these trials can be a testimony. Because people look and say, look how he's handling that. Look how he keeps going, and it's because I believe of the faith in God that he has. And that's what we should strive for. We should strive for being able to keep the joy of the Lord no matter what our circumstances is. Because our joy is not tied to our circumstances, no matter how difficult they are. Our joy is tied to Jesus Christ, who went to that cross, who died for us, who suffered immense torture and beatings, all for us, so that we could have access to the Father in eternity and be forever with him. This is what our joy is tied to. That does not mean we will not have sadness and grief and times where, we struggle with things. But how we struggle and who we point to when we struggle is what it's all about. So next time you find yourself, because you will, it's a very human thing to look around, especially when everything's falling apart, and you say, I'm a Christian, how come I'm not blessed in this life? It's because, one, our blessings are not tied to this life. Two, sometimes we are allowed to be put into the positions to show the testimony of what God has done, what we still have joy, We still have the joy of salvation, the joy of our place in eternity to look forward to. So I just want to encourage you with this, because I believe I have lived a life where I can point to that. I've had many things, not so much recently. We are blessed recently, and I thank God for that. But that does not mean my life will always be blessed, right? That does not mean I won't have to walk through the fire again at some point, right? Things happen. Sometimes this world happens. Sometimes very bad things happen. But I can tell you how I lived my past is that I was able to always cling to God. I always had a faith that one day it would get better. I always knew that even if it was not on this life, that I would be in eternity. I still know that. That's what my salvation has brought me. And that's why we walk with God through things. And another aspect I want to point to is that through our troubles, we can bring them to God. We can bring them to Jesus, and He cares very much about our troubles. He knows what it's like to anguish. He knows what it's like to despair. In the Garden of Gethsemane, He cried and was so anguished in despair that it broke the blood vessels in His eyes. He knows those feelings of not knowing where to turn and not knowing what to do. You know what He did? He prayed to His Father. And He said, "Not my will, but thy will be done." And that's what we need to do. And He will also comfort us. He will also be there with us through the storm. We don't always understand what His will is. And there's still times where I question why I had to lose my son. But I do believe there is something that God is going to use it. I believe how my wife and I have handled that adversity, that biggest adversity someone can go through. How we have clung to Jesus, how He has picked us up, how He has given us purpose, how we can use those scars because of Him to help others. Not that I can say I totally understand their feelings, but I know my own pain and I know my own grief that I had to go through and to overcome. And I know the one that helped me through it. And I can point to Him and point to them and say, this is how you get through it. Use my life as a story that when everything feels like it's falling apart, cling to Jesus. Keep that hope. That's one thing that I think God has given me. He's given me a resiliency to understand that life is not always easy, but there is still hope. As long as I am still breathing, as long as I am still walking this earth, there's still hope. And even afterwards, I still have the hope of salvation. I'm going to see my loved one again. I'm going to see my son again. I don't know if I'll hold him as a baby or he'll be fully grown. I do not know those answers, but I do know that it will be perfect. I do know that one day I will see him again, and I'll get to see the joy of seeing my wife see him again. And there's other things that I can look forward to. I can look forward to my son speaking, my son's being free from the challenges of autism. And you can look around and you can look forward to this as well. You can look forward to no longer having to struggle with that health problem, no longer having a limp, being able to run even if you're in a wheelchair, being able to see if you can, if you're blind, being able to be free from the mental health problems that have tortured you all this life if you just give it to Jesus. Give it to Jesus today. And I believe He can help you with those things on this life, but we still have the hope. We still have the reward of eternity, all because of what Jesus Christ did on that cross, who went through the worst imaginable pain that we can imagine. And He came out and gave us a new life, adopted us as his own. If we'll just call on his name. Maybe you're sitting here today and you've never given your life to Jesus, and your problems are all around you, and you're realizing that the pleasures of this life is just so empty. They may offer you temporary satisfaction, but when they're done and when they're gone and you're still all alone, you're empty. You have a hole in your heart. And I'm telling you that Jesus is still wants to love you, he still loves you anyways, but he wants to make you his own. He wants you to come to him. Turn to him today. There is no other satisfaction that is fully able to restore us and give us that resiliency and that understanding that this life is not all there is. This life is just really a battleground, a testing ground. We have eternity to look forward to. Give your life to him today. There's no other time to be able to do that. And I just pray that you do. So I'm just going to pray for each person that might be watching this. Heavenly Father, I just thank you for whoever's watching this video, whether they're a Christian who's battling some very hard battles, whether they're facing adversity and they might be finding themselves looking around and saying, how's this person get to live a seemingly blessed life on this earth when they do nothing but evil? I just ask that you, for one, point them to you and not to look around. And two, to pray for that person, that they will see their need to know God. Because sometimes people are so trapped within the prisons of pleasures and luxuries, they cannot see that they have a hole in their heart still. And that can only be filled by you. And Lord, I just ask that you give them the strength to walk through whatever adversity they have to. And I also pray for that person who might never have known you, that you'll convict them, that you'll talk to them and see their need to know you. And let them know that their emptiness can be filled and they can be made whole in you, Lord God. I just pray for that person today. And I just pray for everyone that will come to you, will come to know you. In your precious name, amen. So I appreciate you watching this video. I appreciate you liking, sharing, and subscribing. I just want to get this word out to as many people as possible to know in whatever way God will use this to reach them. I just appreciate all you do, and I hope you guys have a good day, and God bless.